All right. Good morning, everyone. Appreciate
Morning.
y'all joining us today, joining together today. Uh, we are going to talk about the Miracle A9E key machine by Lock Decoders today. Some of you have joined us before, and if you haven't, I'm JB with International Key Supply, bringing you these webinars, and we are also doing some online training. We have kind of changed the way we're operating things in the midst of COVID-19. And even though it's a difficult time and you know, an unsettling time, I find it very, I don't know, very fulfilling to be able to teach and to talk with you all this way. I look forward to when we can get together physically and be in the same room together. But until then, I think this is a great platform, and I hope and I believe that we will carry this on even after COVID-19 subsides. So I hope you guys can join us in the future. But so we've got around 40 folks in here today, and I'm sure there'll be some more that come and go. Uh, if at any time during the webinar you guys have questions, feel free to ask them. You guys can ask questions one of two ways, either in the Q&A portal of this Zoom webinar, or you can actually use the raise your hand function. So if you raise your hand, I will call on you, and then you can unmute your microphone and ask your question. We are going to have a question and answer session at the end as well. So if it's something that you think could wait till the end, go ahead and keep it till the end, till question and answer. But if you need to stop us along the way, that's okay too. So it looks like I've got a couple of my coworkers here with us. We have Zena from our New York office, and looks like we have Tim from our Houston office. And I would be looking for Travis from our Houston office as well. I don't see him quite yet, but I bet he'll be in here. And then we also have the owner of the company, who is Lock Decoders, that makes this A9 key machine. Straight from the UK, his name is Peter Southern. So Peter, if you don't mind, just say good morning to us.
Good morning all. From here, good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon, that's right. Appreciate that. So we're gonna just jump right into it. Again, JB Gates with International Key Supply. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with us or not, but if you are, that's great. If you're not, we've got a slide here that just kind of tells you about who we are at International Key Supply. This is not designed to be a sales webinar, but at the same time, we do still need to sell products. We need to have happy customers who are repeat customers. That's the only way that we're able to stay in business and continue to provide you with additional services like these webinars and the tech support that we provide on the products that we sell. So if you're not familiar with us, I'd ask you to give us a look. We have a mobile-friendly website. We have dedicated account reps. If you want a dedicated account rep for the state that you reside in, you already have that person. If you choose to make your orders through them, you can, or you can make them online. I didn't create this slide, but there is a shameless plug here that says high quality technical support. For those of you who have received technical support from us, you can decide whether it's high quality or not and provide me with that feedback. We have innovative products, and by that I mean we have a house brand of keys and remotes called Keyless to Go. We have a lot of offerings that compare to OEM keys, whether they be flip keys, prox keys, whatnot, that are a very good price point, and they work well, and the customers seem to like them. We try to keep the prices very competitive, so great pricing. And then if you're in the US, every order that you place that's over $100 receives free shipping. That doesn't apply to Canada or other places. Sorry for those of you who are in Canada, other spots. But in the continental US, you do get free shipping on a $100 order. We've got a few microphones that are open here. I'm gonna go ahead and just mute those so we don't have any background noise. All right, very good. And again, if any of you would like to ask a question, feel free to raise your hand or use the question and answer portal. That's perfectly okay as well. All right. So, as most of you probably know, HL Flake and International Key Supply merged some time back. So when we combined those forces together, we basically created the largest independent security hardware distributor in the US. And so we kind of took the strengths of the different companies and mixed them all together. We took some automotive expertise from New York and passed it on to Houston. We took some of the commercial and residential expertise in Houston and moved it to New York and other places. And so as you hear me talking today, I'm probably going to refer mainly to International Key Supply. The main reason for that is because that's who I work for, is International Key Supply. But as I'm talking about purchasing products, tech support, that sort of thing, I don't want you to be have a limited focus on just International Key Supply. So with this merger, we have 4 companies all together. You see the logos there on your screen. So we have H.L. Flake, International Key Supply, McDonald Dash, and H.E. Mitchell. So just don't get hyper focused when I say International Key Supply, because H.L. Flake, McDonald Dash, or H.E. Mitchell were all together under this umbrella, and any of those companies can service you very well. We all work together, so if there's something that if you usually deal with H.E. Mitchell and you can't quite get, you know, a question answered or whatever, they'll reach out to someone else, maybe me in New York or maybe someone in Houston, whatever. So my point is, as I refer to myself as and International Key Supply, make sure you understand I'm also referring to H.L. Flake, McDonald Dash, and H.E. Mitchell. All right. So here's what everybody's come to see and hear today. Really, probably none of the things I've talked about yet, but we're going to talk about the Miracle A9 Edge key machine. And this is just a product slick from the actual factory's website that produces them. These machines are produced by a factory in Korea called Red Technologies. The owner of Lock Decoders works in cooperation with this factory to have the machines built to their specifications. They have a lot of control over how these processes and machines are actually built. So it's not like Lock Decoders just kind of hires this company to produce these. Lock Decoders has a vested interest in the company, and these machines are all produced and spec'd to Lock Decoders specifications, and Lock Decoders works on, you know, the software and all the parts and pieces. So the manufacturing is done in Korea, but the machine actually belongs to the company in the UK, Lock Decoders. And I can read through these talking points on the slide here, but I'm not going to do that. I have some of my own talking points that I want to kind of hit, and we can come back to this information later if you'd like. But what I really want to do is just kind of start talking about this machine. What I'm going to do is, for the time being, I'm going to be showing you some demonstration on this machine as we go forward. So I'm going to be using a couple of different cameras. I'm just going to leave this main slide up for right now. And so this machine by Lock Decoders, the Miracle A9E or A9 Edge as it's actually called, it's a computerized automatic key cutting machine. It cuts a variety of keys. You can cut high security keys, standard security keys, you can cut dimple keys, you can cut tubular keys, and tibbe keys. So tubular, if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, that would be like an ace lock, a round key. A lot of people call them like a pop machine key. You know, dimple keys, if you're not familiar, would be popular on multi-lock. And then tibbe keys, we see those in some of your older Jaguars and some of your, I'm sorry, got distracted by a comment here. Some of your older Jaguars and some of your Ford Transit Connects. Now, keep in mind, this machine does cut a lot of other keys. It cuts cruciform keys. It cuts a ton of other keys that we don't use here in the US. So if you look at Lock Decoder's website, you are going to see lots of other things listed, you know, different keys that can be cut. And the only reason why I'm really not talking about them too much today is they don't really pertain to our market. But I want to impress upon you that this machine is highly capable, can pretty much cut any key that you would come across. It's very versatile. So you can cut a key by code. So if you have no key to start with and you know the key code, or if you know the bitting, like you decoded the lock of the vehicle and you have the bitting, you can input the bitting and cut a key from scratch. You can also duplicate keys with this key machine. it has an engraving function where there is a separate vise that can be purchased and a separate cutter that goes in this machine. And then there's a software where you can design your pattern, whether it be text or whether it be pictures, and you could actually engrave onto keys and other material as long as the material physically holds into the clamp that is provided for engraving. You can do some manual cut option. So what that is if you wanted to actually add some milling to a key, or maybe you wanted to remove some milling for a key, you wanted to you know, change the key profile, wanted to cut a groove in a key, that would be the manual cut. And so this machine is controlled either by a tablet that is typically affixed to the top of the machine. There's a built-in stand, and on the A9 Edge key machine, they are now using a Microsoft Surface tablet. So some of the tablets in the past on some of the other A9 machines were kind of a proprietary tablet, and they were, you know, difficult if you had to replace them, and you know, you didn't want to wait for one to come from us. You wanted to source one locally. It was a little bit tough to do that. But now they have moved to this Microsoft Edge tablet, or excuse me, the Microsoft Surface tablet. So commonly available, lots and lots of electronic stores. There is basically a global guarantee on these tablets. Even though the machine comes from the UK, you purchase it here in the US. If you have any trouble with the Surface Go tablet from Microsoft, you can go into a Microsoft store and get that fixed, or call Microsoft on the phone and get a replacement done if necessary. You can also control this machine through a PC. So any Windows-based PC that's a full Windows operating system, you can load a piece of software onto it called Codemaster, and you can actually run the key machine that way. So you can use it as redundancy, or you could use it as a backup. Let's say you took your tablet out and you dropped it and damaged it, broke it. Well, your key machine is not down for the count, so to speak. While you get a new tablet, you can take your Windows-based PC, download the software from our website at internationalkeysupply.com in the download section, and install that on a Windows-based PC and connect to the machine, and you're up and running again. So that's a really nice feature. That this Codemaster software that I'm talking about actually works for all of the Miracle A9 series. So if you have an original A9 or A9 Premium or A9 Special, or even this A9 Edge, it'll work on any of them. So keep that in mind if you have one of these key machines already. So you also have the ability to connect directly to this machine with Instacode. So when you purchase a Miracle A9 machine from us, you will get an Instacode subscription, and for 1 year. And what happens is you can look up different key cutting profiles, you can look up key codes, bidding with Instacode, and then you can transfer that information by Bluetooth directly to your key machine. I'm going to show you that here in a little bit, but you can have Instacode on your PC or on your mobile phone even, and you can look up a key code or a key profile and send it directly to your key machine, which is a really nice feature. Also, what makes it nice, because it connects directly to Instacode. If you are an Instacode user, you're used to Instacode, you can look things up by Instacode card number, and then you could search directly in the Miracle A9 series key machines by the Instacode card number. So that integration with Instacode is really, really handy. I don't know how many of you are currently using Instacode. I use it all the time. It's a great piece of software. So that ability to integrate with Instacode is important. So another thing that's really important about this machine is it is actually runs off 24-volt DC. So when you buy this machine, there is an included transformer that plugs into the wall, and it then converts the AC, the electrical current, into DC, like what a battery would produce, 24 volts DC. And you say, well, that might be interesting, but what does it mean? Why is it important? Well, the reason why it's important is most other key machines that are computerized and have this capability on the market are directly powered by an AC connection. So you have to have a very expensive sine wave inverter in your service van if you're going to use this in a mobile application. Otherwise, you'll be plagued by problems with the key machine that actually is powered by AC. But since this particular machine and all the other A9 machines are actually powered by DC, and the included transformer converts that AC to DC for you, it does a bunch of filtering. So now you don't you're not plagued by those problems of having a very, very expensive inverter. Now, you still want to have a good quality inverter and ground it properly and have the proper size cables going to it and proper size battery for, you know, the amount of current you want to pull from it. But you don't have to have a pure sine wave inverter. You don't have to have the most expensive inverter on the market, and you don't have to worry about your inverter causing you difficulty with your key machine because it runs on 24 volts DC. I see we have a question here in the question and answer. It says, I purchased a key machine a few months ago, but it's still in the box. I'm interested in activating the free Instacode account. How do I go about doing that? And that was from anonymous attendee. So anonymous attendee, the answer is give us a call if you purchased it from us. If you didn't purchase it from us, give the vendor that you did purchase it from a call, and we could help you work through that. All right. So another thing that I want to point out with the Miracle A9E, the Miracle A9 Edge, is that it has a 2-year warranty, which is better than almost every other key machine out there on the market. I have a lot of experience with these key machines. These are what I run in my shops and my vans. I personally invested in this machine. I really, really like it. I've had a machine from another company, multiple machines, and I won't say who that was because, you know, it's I don't want to cast a shadow on anyone, but I did have other machines that I used in my businesses, and I did not have good success with them. I bought one of the original A9 machines years ago, and I'm still using it in my own personal service van today. In the course of servicing a machine for another customer, I looked at the key count on my machine. It's got over 7,000 keys cut on it, and I've done nothing but change the cutter spindle belts, no other maintenance other than cleaning. So these machines are really reliable. I'll be very surprised if you actually need to have the machine repaired under the warranty period, but if you do, just know it has a 2-year warranty. Another thing that I want to tell you about this repair service is International Key Supply is an authorized repair center for these machines. So we stock parts here in the States. We can repair these machines. So it's not like if your machine has a problem, it's got to go to Korea or to the UK. It can be sent directly to my offices in Missouri, where I would actually repair it for you with the parts that I keep in stock. So that's a plus if you do need repairs. One of probably the most important features of this machine is really not a feature, but it's just the availability of contact with lock decoders. So Corey's sending a question here. Average turnaround time for repair. So Corey, if the parts are in stock and everybody does what they should, and I mean everybody, when I say everybody, I mean the people and, you know, the delivery folks, UPS or FedEx. If everybody does what they should, the typical turnaround time is 2 to 3 business days, and then we send it back out. You know, some repairs do take longer. Some repairs are faster. It just really depends on the parts. Anytime you have a repair need, give us a call ahead of time. We can get an idea of what's going on with it, and we can give you, you know, what the lead time would be at that particular point whenever you call in. But good question, Corey. Thank you for that. And so what I'm talking about is the connection with the manufacturer. So I mentioned that we have the owner of Lock Decoders here with us today, Peter Southern from the UK. And the fact that he's joining us here on this webinar today is not unusual. It's not out of the ordinary. Peter is very available. You can reach Peter by Facebook. He's very active on Facebook groups. He will call you on the phone, whether it's, you know, by telephone or by Facebook Messenger, you know, a voice or video service, and he'll talk to you about your issue. Not that we can't resolve your problem here, but you know, sometimes people just want to talk to the company that makes the machine. But I don't know any other key machine that we sell that you can physically contact the owner of the company who produces the key machine. You know, I'm sure, yeah, you can talk to other owners, and yeah, you might have an email address, but I don't know any other key machine that we sell that you can physically have a FaceTime with the owner of that company. So in my opinion, that means a lot. Most of the time, it's not like it's necessary for Peter to get involved, but we do ask him to, and he does get involved. Like I said, very active on Facebook, but you know, I challenge you to find another company who makes a key machine that's readily available in the US that you can actually reach the owner of that company. So what I want to do is I want to show you some of the menus on the A9 Edge key machine. So I'm going to bring down this slideshow here for just a second. And I'm going to bring up the Codemaster software that I was talking about. So would you guys do me a favor and just throw your hands up if you're able to see the Miracle A9 Edge software on your screen? Perfect. Thank you for that. I'm going to put everybody's hands down. So this is the PC software, okay? And this software is physically connected to the machine that I'm going to demo for you guys here today. I mean, it's actually connected to a machine that's maybe, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet away. So this is going to be the exact same software that you see on the tablet of the Miracle A9 Edge key machine. So I just want to go through these menus kind of quickly so you can have an idea of what we're talking about. So you see along the bottom row here, you see these buttons. You have automobile key, motorcycle key, standard key, dimple key, special key, and tubular key. So those are all the different formats of keys that this Miracle key machine can actually cut. And if you were to select one of them, say automobile key, you would then open up a manufacturer window here. So you could choose what manufacturer. Let's say you wanted to choose Chevrolet. And then let's say maybe you wanted to cut a key for a Camaro. You could choose C again and then Camaro. And so then now you have your different key cutting profiles for all the Camaros that are, built into the software. And likewise, it works the same way if you're working on motorcycle keys or standard keys. All right, I see a hand up. Go ahead, Vaughn. Vaughn, did you have a question for us, or was your hand just up from before? All right, I'm going to go ahead and lower your hand, Vaughn. If you have a question, you can always ask it again. So motorcycle key, again, you're going to have some manufacturer listing here, and you're going to be able to pick what you're looking for and go by year, make, and model. That's what these buttons are good for here along the bottom. Automobile, motorcycle, your standard keys, your dimple keys, your special keys, your tubular. I'm not going to get into those too much today. Really, we're just going to talk about your automotive keys, but yeah, you can cut standard keys with this as well. And again, dimple keys, like we talked about, for multi-lock is a popular one, but there's plenty of other dimple keys. Jose, go ahead. I see your hand up. It looks like your mic is muted, Jose, if you have a question. There you go. Go ahead.
Can you cut a sergeant and best keys on this one?
You can, but what I'll tell you is that when you're cutting anything that is an interchangeable core like that, or a master keying system like that, you're going to have some difficulty. And that has nothing to do with the Miracle A9 key machine. It has to do with the way the key is cut. So on this key machine, everything is going to be laser cut. There's only one cutter. And if you don't cut those interchangeable core, small format, large format IC cores with a plunge cutting key machine, you're going to have a lot of trouble having consistency and having, smooth working keys. And again, that's nothing against the Miracle key machine. If you take and try to cut any kind of IC core key on anybody else's machine that's a laser cut key, it's not going to be that efficient. So I would tell you, Jose, yeah, it can do it, and you could do it if you need to, but I would encourage you to cut all those IC cores, whether they're small format, large format, on something that's able to plunge cut and not a laser cutting machine. But good question. Thank you, Jose. And then again, so tubular key, special key, and dimple key. So the other thing that I want to talk to you a little bit about here is some of these other menus that you can see. One of them that is important is search. So if you click on search, okay, you're going to be able to search by a couple of different methods here. You're going to be able to search by key blank. You're going to be able to search by Instacode card number, or you're going to actually be able to search by key code. So hang on a minute, we've got a few here, question and answers. Okay, Jose, we already addressed yours with the Sargent and Best A2. Corey says, will it do side milling for Primus? No, Corey, it does not do any side milling for Primus. I'm sure that it's possible that you could actually manually do side milling for Primus. You'd have to do a lot of setup. You could manually do it, but there's no automatic function that would let you side mill for a Primus. Clarence says, I own the A9 Special. When will the key copy be ready for use? Right now, it's under beta since I purchased in 2018. Clarence, I don't know, but we can refer that question to Peter at the end, at the question and answer. I'll leave it there. And then Clarence has another question. If I enter the biddings, example Toyota, and enter 8 biddings from the lock, can the machine give me the next 2 biddings for the ignition? Clarence, currently these machines and the code databases in them are not doing that fill or that progression like you're asking about. I don't know if that's something that can be added or not. That would be something that Peter could clarify. But right now, as it sits, no, you can't do progressionings or fills with the code software database that's built in. Justin says, can you show the path for connecting iPhone or Android by Bluetooth? I can, Justin, if we have enough time. Remind me, we'll come back to it. And Clarence says, can the machine stand alone with the codes, or do I must use Instacode? So Clarence, the code database is built into the Codemaster software as long as you're on a version that has the codes built into it. So there are codes built into the Codemaster software in the tablet. If you're on the current version that has it, you know, if you're running an older machine that hasn't been updated in a while, it won't have the codes in it. You'll have to update to get the codes. And you can connect also with Instacode. So back to this search. Again, you can search by key blank, you could search by IC card or the actual key code. So if you search by key blank, you could just start typing in here what you're looking for. And as you get closer, you'll narrow down your possibilities. So HON 66, you know, obviously that's the Honda high security key. And if you wanted to search by Instacode card number, you could change the search field. And let's say you knew the Instacode card number for, this is a high security key that you might want to cut. You could search for 1342. And again, you could also search for code. And I'm going to show you that here in a little bit. So you also have this menu down here, the green one. This is the setup menu. This is where you find all the calibration procedures, where you can calibrate the machine. This is also where you connect to Wi-Fi, so that you would connect to Wi-Fi and you would actually update your machine. And then, so you have this My Key Info button here. So My Key Info is a way for you to create your own custom key cutting or code card, however you want to think about it. There's different terms, depends on kind of when you started in this industry, you might call it something different. But let's say that you get a new key out and you know the spacing and depths, and maybe you don't have Instacode, or maybe you can't get Instacode to send that new code card to your key machine. You can use this feature here, this My Key Info, and you could actually create your own code card to cut a cutting profile that doesn't exist in the machine already. And you see this icon here, favorite. You can actually mark keys that you cut often, and then they'll be populated here in your favorites list. And then if you want a shortcut, just go right back to your favorite, click on it, and the machine will already be ready to cut whatever key was in your favorite. Anonymous attendee says, notice when you went to Camaro example, it showed recommended Silca key blanks. Is there an option to use Ilco, Jet, etc.? That depends on the way you search, but when you actually go into the that particular one, you'll see multiple key blanks listed, and the Ilco one is always going to be listed there as a rule. So you might not always be able to search by the Ilco, but you're going to see the Ilco equivalents when you actually select it. So if you have a doubt, you can select the Silca, look at the key cutting profile, then look at the applicable keys, and you should see the Ilco key numbers listed there. So you also have this icon here, which is cut history. If you go into that, you can see things that you've done searches. There's the search we just made. Here's some keys that have been cut. If you wanted to, like say, recut something from your cut history, you could click on it. It would bring the machine right back to where you were when you cut that key, the exact spacing, depths, the code cards you used, everything. So that would take you right back to you know, a cutting that you already previously did. So that's what the history there is for. And the last key would return you to the exact last key that you cut, just like what it infers. So it's the same as this code history, whatever was the last key that we cut. You see Honda North America. If we just went to last key, it'll take us right back to that Honda North America key that we just cut. So now on the other side, we have a few other features here. We have a manual cut, which is the one where I was telling you if you wanted to, say, cut an additional groove, some additional milling in your key blade, or maybe you wanted to remove some kind of milling, you could do that with this function as well. So there's also a function for key copy. So this key copy function is if you don't exactly know the keyway that you're working with and you want the machine to just take and trace the physical outline of the key and then make you a copy of that key. I'm going to demonstrate that function later. You know, in my opinion, it's always best to go by the keyway when you're doing a duplication, because what this machine does is if you go by the keyway, it knows where the spaces should be in the key. It knows what the manufacturer's depths should be. So if it decodes the key and it finds a depth that's in between depths, it will automatically correct that and then make that key as if it wasn't worn any longer when you produce the new key. Now, the key copy feature doesn't have that ability. All you can do is just, you're going to get a rudimentary copy of exactly what the key machine traced. It will work, don't get me wrong, but my personal opinion is that whenever you're duplicating a key, always use the keyway if you know it. Use this key copy only if you don't know the keyway. And then as you see, we have engraving. We talked about that. If you put the proper engraving jaw into the machine and the proper cutter, you can open the engraving software and you can put in your own text and your own graphics if you want, and you can change the orientation of the way that it marks on the key. You can also save some of these, not some of these, you can save the cutting profiles for going back and forth. So if you you know, had a customer you engraved for on a regular basis, you could just load up their engraving and you know, engrave for them easily without setting it up every time. Or maybe you're engraving your own keys and you just want to have your own profile set up, you can do that, save those. All right, and then we see we have communications and we have remote support. Communications is just to see how your machine is connected to whatever device is controlling it, whether it's you know, by Bluetooth or by USB. And then this remote support tab is just that. It gives us the ability, excuse me, it gives us the ability to connect remotely to the tablet or the PC, whatever's controlling your Miracle A9 key machine, and we can take a look. Sometimes it might be helpful if there was some update problem or some corruption, or maybe there was something that we couldn't talk through over the phone and we needed to actually show you. Typically on something like that you need support on, not like a software corruption or something else, we would typically be able just to support you by voice. You know, we can walk you through it, but the remote support is still there. It's a nice function to have, a nice feature to have if you need it. So that's the basic layout of the key machine itself, the actual control, the GUI or the user interface, if you will. And so Glenn asked, can you load pictures for engraving? Well, Glenn, you could load images. You won't be able to actually load pictures. It doesn't have that sort of detail, but when you say picture, if you mean an image, yeah, you can put an image on there for sure. No problem whatsoever, and you can engrave it, you know, your logo or whatever the case might be. Corey says, and any example of engraving? Corey, I don't have anything handy. I don't have the engraving jaw handy, so I couldn't show you any example of it. But the next question is the quality. The quality is good. I actually use the engraving function quite a bit on mine. I have a couple of commercial customers, a school district and a large manufacturing facility, and I engrave not only like location names and key numbers and some additional identification numbers for the one school district that I have. I actually do put graphics on the keys. It helps them to understand better the key locations and show. So yeah, I mean, the quality is good. I don't have anything to show you. You'll have to trust me, but if you want to email me, jb@iks.us or jb@internationalkeysupply.com, I'll be more than happy to send you some images of engraved keys that I have, no problem whatsoever. So what I want to do here for a moment is I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. And what I want to show you is this key machine actually here in real life that I have sitting on my bench. I'm going to start another camera here, and we're going to see, this is the machine here. It's hard to get the whole machine in frame because of the way my camera is set up, but this is the tablet that you can see here. It is affixed to the machine by some bracketry, and then this is the actual top of the machine, obviously the logo here. Also have the emergency stop switch here. And then down below is what I'm going to want everybody to focus on. So let me reposition the camera. I want you guys to be able to see the cutting that's going on. And typically this machine is set up to where you must have this shield closed in order to cut keys. And what I have got right now is I have this set up so that I can cut the keys with the shield open, just so that you could see better into the inner workings of the machine. I would recommend that you always leave the safety shield down and that you always use it when cutting. But just so you know, if you buy one of these machines or if you have one and you wonder how in the world is he cutting, you know, with the screen open, I've bypassed that feature temporarily. So here we have, again, the workings of the key machine. I'm going to get kind of everything centered up here, and we're going to go through a few demonstrations to show you some of these things. So we're going to start off here with what I have set up for us. Okay, so we're going to code cut a key for you. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you the test locks that I have here that we're working with. So what I have here is a lock out of a Kia vehicle, okay? This is one of the test locks that I use when I am testing key machines. So the way I have these set up, you know, just so you kind of know, is I have the lock, obviously. I have this little tag, have a test key. On my tag, I have the key code on one side and the bitting on the other, just for convenience sake. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take this key, and we know the key code for whatever reason. We're just, for example, we're going to assume maybe we listed this door, or, you know, maybe the customer had the key code. It was, you know, rental car company, and they had the key code on file. So I'm going to go through a real world example as if we had the key code, and we're going to cut this key by code. So I'm here in the Codemaster software. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the search function, okay? Richard says, will you have your machine set up at the LOA convention in Kansas? Richard, as long as ALOA continues on the path that it is and the show is open, yeah, we will have an A9 on display at the show for sure. So I've gone into the search function here, and I'm going to select key code, okay? And I know that the key code for this particular vehicle is E as in Edward 0421. All right, so then I'm going to search. And the machine is now going through the key code database. It is looking for this possible code to see what it can come up with. And once it determines what options we have, one of two things will happen. It will either populate directly to the key if it only finds one key code in the database that matches, or if it finds multiple key codes in the database that match, it will ask you to choose. So as you see, it looked up E0421. It only found one key code in the database. You see it's referred to as a Kia. And if you noticed, if you remember the cuts, these are the correct cuts. So that means the machine looked up the code properly. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we are going to actually cut this key. So I'm going to go ahead and click cut here. And just so you know, this isn't actually going to make the cutter start working on the machine. It's just going to get us to the cutting menu, okay? And so now what's happened is the software is telling us where to prepare the key, which clamp, and what location to put it in, you know, what stopper position. And that is not terribly important, especially when you have the auto sensing turned on. So over here on the left, if you see this measurement and you see the picture of a key blade with the tracer and this arrow on the left, right, and in the center, that is auto sensing. So the key machine is going to check the tip and both sides of the key by default when you turn this on. And then what happens is it's going to check the width of the key. It's going to look for irregularities in the key. And if you didn't get it lined up exactly with the fourth line, like what it says here, then it would realign the cutting. So the auto sensing is really, really good to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring back up the other camera here that is looking at the key machine. And I'm going to put an LXP90, one of our keyless to go test keys. I'm going to clamp it in here. This jaw is already free of any brass or debris, but you want to make sure that you do that every time. We're going to clamp it in here, okay? And now I'm going to come back here to the Codemaster software, which is not going to let me keep it up at the same time. Oh, there we go. We can minimize it. Let's see if we can work this out. Yeah, here's what we'll do. I'm going to tell it to cut. We're going to get a few warnings. It's going to ask us if the groove is cleaned, and the reason why it's asking us that is because we've told it to auto sense, and the tracer is going to run down these grooves in the jaw, and if you have debris in there, you're going to get the sensing wrong. It's going to tell you to clean the tip of the cutter for the same reason that if you have any kind of debris on the tip of the cutter, it may not sense the key properly. And then it's going to tell you to make sure that the key doesn't hit the head of the, or the head of the key does not hit the safety shield, okay? So now I'm going to bring this back up so you can see the machine in action. So as you see, the machine went down, touched both sides of the key and the tip of the key. It's a little dark in that one side. I wonder if I can. That's a little better. So there is a comment that I get from people, and they do comment that this machine cuts slower than some machines on the market. And I won't dispute that comment. It does cut slower than some machines on the market. But I'm going to tell you why I like that. First of all, it is going to make the machine last longer. It's not putting undue stress on the motors or the belts. It's also not putting undue stress on a cutter that, you know, are not inexpensive to replace. And what it does for me, especially in a mobile application, while this machine is doing its job and cutting this key accurately, and as some people have said, maybe a bit slower than others, I'm able to do other things. So while this key's cutting, I might be prepping my transponder key. I might be getting my programmer out. I might be, you know, sweeping up the van, whatever. And again, I have owned key machines from other manufacturers that were faster, but in my opinion, the speed of this machine is not a detractor. So I'm going to clean the jaw really good here. I'm going to put this key in on the other side. I'm going to clamp it in, and then I'm going to go ahead and tell the software to cut the other side of this key. Corey, I see your hand up. Go ahead. Oh, I guess you didn't have a question. Maybe I passed your question. Let's see here. There's something on question and answer. Dan says, the tablet in my standard A9 dies every 12 to 18 months, and I have to use my laptop to run the device. The extra $600 to pay to continue to repair is not sustainable. Can I upgrade the tablet portion only? Yeah, Dan, you can. I probably need to talk with you a little bit later. You know, the machine has a warranty, the tablet has a warranty. So if you're seeing failures on your tablet, you shouldn't be paying for that as long as it's within warranty. So maybe I'm misunderstanding your comment, but to me it seems like you're having to pay to repair these tablets when they're not under warranty any longer. Oh, I'm sorry, you have an original A9. So yeah, you can take. Sorry, Dan. I understand your question. I was thinking of it as a different machine that would possibly still be under a warranty. You have the original A9. So yeah, you can take any tablet that is a full Windows tablet, like a Microsoft Surface tablet, and you can control your original A9. You could also control it with a PC. Yeah, you could definitely update the tablet 100%. I could tell you, Dan, just from a personal note, that tablet failure on the original A9s isn't a common thing because I have an original A9 and I've had it, well, I'd have to look back. I think it's been 8 or 9 years, maybe a little bit more. And I'm still working on the original tablet. So I hate to hear you had that trouble, but it's not normal. Matt says, how do you know when to change the blade, or how often do you change the blades? So Matt, typically I say you visually inspect it. You know, you can, and when the machine's not running, not plugged in, not turned on, you can take your fingers and kind of just gently run them around the cutter. And when it starts to feel smooth and doesn't have any barbs anymore, it's time to replace it. You'll also know because you'll hear the pitch of the cutting, the noise that it makes when cutting change. You'll know it will start to make more noise. It'll start to chatter. You'll know right away when you need to have a new cutter. You know, and it depends on how many keys you cut, whether or not you need to replace it right away. You know, some guys get a year, some guys get 6 months, some guys get 2 or 3 or 4 years. It really just depends on the use on the machine. Billy says, I have a problem with the door on an old A9. Sometimes when I cut a remote headed key, it's too big and hits the door. What should I do? So Billy, what you can do is if you're gonna sit there and cut the keys monitor the machine while it's cutting the keys, what I do on my original A9 is I lift the lid slightly and I put the key in, I hold the lid lifted slightly. I let the jaw index to where it starts to move over. Before the cutter head spins, I put the door down, let the machine cut, and then as it's coming back, I lift the door so that the key doesn't hit the door. That lid only has to be closed when the cutter is physically spinning. So if you lift it, as the carriage moves away, as it's preparing to cut, the machine will just keep working just like it always does. And as long as you close that door before the cutter starts to spin, you're fine. Glenn says, I'm not seeing everyone's questions in the all questions tab. Is that a setting on your end? Glenn, I don't know. I've been asked that lots of times. I think you've asked me lots of times. I found no way to turn that on. That's why I just read those questions out loud. Sorry about that. Corey says, since it's a tablet, can you do remote login for some issue like wrong ports, etc.? Well, Corey, I'm not sure what your question is, but the tablet on this machine is not really a tablet. It's a tablet-based PC. So yeah, we can do full remote support on it because it's a Windows-based PC. So let me drop this down out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and pull this key out of here. Now I'm going to brush this key off, get all the debris off it. We don't want to get anything in our lock. I usually use a bench-mounted grinder, a wire wheel on the bench-mounted grinder to clean the keys before I use them. But you can do it however you want to do it. So then if we bring our document camera back up, so here's our test lock. There's the key that we cut on our keyless to go test blade. And we have a really nice cut there, nice and smooth. So that is that's an example of code cutting there on that Kia key. I want to show you decoding and duplicating HON66 key. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to show you the lock we're going to work with, just so you know. We have a trunk, a door lock out of a Honda. I have the bidding and the key code here on this tag. I don't have a fancy tag like the other one. I haven't quite got there yet, but this is going to be our test subject. We know the key and we know the cuts on the A side and the B side. So what we're going to do is take this key and we're going to put it into the A9 edge. But what would first be more appropriate, especially if you don't know the machine, is to look up this vehicle so you know what you're looking for. You can go by your make and model easily. And what I do personally, and you can, if it's an Accord, you can look up Accord. If it's a Civic, you can look up a Civic. If it's a Pilot, you can look up a Pilot. But I know that all those cars use the same keyway. I use the same one. It's just the least amount of keystrokes. It's a muscle memory. So for me, every Honda that I do that's HON 66, I select Honda and I select Accord North America. There's a couple of reasons for that. That's the shortest amount of keystrokes to get to HON 66. But you can do it however you want. You can go Honda and then you could pick Accord, or you could pick Pilot or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same way. But I do it this way, so I don't want you to think that the other models aren't in the menus. This is just the way I do it. So something on Honda that you got to look out for is there's 2 milling thicknesses for the webbing of the key. You have 1.05 millimeter, which is what we use in the US, and 1.41 millimeter. If you cut it on 1.41 millimeter, it's not going to work in the lock. So make sure you're cutting on the 1.05 millimeter. So now I'm going to go to the cut menu again. Even though we're not cutting, we're decoding, we're making a duplicate in this example. So the machine is going to tell us where to place the key. We also have the auto sensing turned on. I'm sorry, I'm going to go to decode, not cut. And we have the auto sensing turned on. The machine is telling us where to place the key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this key in there for you, let you see it. All right, now we're going to tell the machine to decode by clicking on decode. We're going to get a couple of those warnings again. Make sure the device is clear of any debris. Justin, I see you have your hand up. Do you have a question?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, of course.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. So at the beginning of this portion here, there were 4 cards I saw in the when you're selecting. You selected Honda Accord North America. Can you explain the pertinence of the other 3 cards, please? I see that a lot when I'm working in Instacode.
Okay, so the first card that you saw was the 1.41 millimeter webbing, which is not for use in the US. That's something that we're trying to get removed from that menu because, as you see, we went to Honda Accord and North America Accord, but we still got the European choice. So that's something that we're trying to get out of the menu. And then I'd have to look back. Honestly, I was kind of on autopilot. Let me see what else was there. Well, let me just skip back real quick here. Oh, these are the standard security keys, the different standard security keys that you could have. And as you see, they're listed here. This is actually a duplicate. You see IC card 19 and IC card 19. That's the same code card, so that's a duplicate. So really, this menu should only contain 2 keys, and it should be, the older standard security and the newer higher security. But this top one, like I said, is for the European version of the key, the 1.41 millimeter thickness. It just needs to be removed from this menu. So let me do that decode really quick again. Let's see here. Kelly says, I have had to send 2 of the A9 specials in for repair due to the inner belt failing. Is there maintenance or something we are doing wrong that would cause this? No, Kelly, there is no maintenance. You're not doing anything wrong. Some of those A9 special machines were actually built, and there was just an error. It was an oversight. That belt that you're talking about is the X-axis belt that moves the jaw left to right, and that belt was literally 1 millimeter too small. And so when that machine comes back to us for repair, we put a belt in it that's 1 millimeter longer, and you're not going to have any trouble breaking those belts anymore. It was just an oversight, you know, something that wasn't expected by the manufacturer, and so they discovered it, corrected it. But the reason why those X-axis belts have broken in your A9 specials is, you know, it was a design flaw. Put in the 1 millimeter larger belt, and that's the only thing that you need to do. You don't have to worry about it anymore after that. All right, so here we got this bidding. We got 355651 and 262531. Let's say we didn't know the code to this key. We didn't know the bidding either. Let's say we just decoded a customer's key and we said, hey, you know what? I wonder if that's a worn key, or I wonder if that's a good valid decode. So if you want to double check yourself, you can click on this button over here that says Find Bidding. And it will take the bidding that you have and look for a key code. So when you click on this, the machine's going to go in its database, and it's going to look at this cutting profile, and it's going to see if those cuts exist in the database. And if it finds a match, it's going to come back and show you the key code match that it finds. Peter, I see you've got your hand up. Did you have something?
Yes, just about the belts. That was my fault.
Oh, so this is part of the point that I was making about the owner being available. Here he is taking responsibility for an oversight, but
we made the machine 1 millimeter bigger, and we forgot to make the belt 1 millimeter bigger.
Well, there you go. And I know personally I've changed plenty of those that were 1 millimeter short, and you know, put the 1 millimeter longer belt in there, and perfectly fine. So thank you for that, Peter. Appreciate it. So as you see on the screen now, we've come up here on the left-hand side with this code in red. And if you remember from the label that was on that key, that is our key code, K679. So what the machine did for us is validate that the readings that we took from the key were good, and that the actual decode that we got, the bidding that we got, is a valid key code. So we know that key is not too worn to duplicate. We know that it is good to duplicate. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut a key for you here from that reading that we took. And we're going to try it on our test lock. All right. So I've got it in there. We're going to tell it to cut. We're again going to get our same warnings here. And then we're going to pull this up so you can see what it looks like. Oop. Let's see, Clarence has a question here. It says, the original jaw the machine comes with, the clamp gets worn down quickly, and then certain keys don't hold. I have had to file the sides sometimes to get it rough so it can be held. Can this be straightened? Well, Clarence, I don't know. I've never actually heard this complaint from anybody exactly the way that you're saying it. I do on occasion have trouble clamping some standard security keys in the upper portion of the jaw, but what I find is that isn't a fault of the jaw, but it's a fault of the nickel plating on the key. So I don't know, Clarence. Personally, I haven't had other folks give me the same complaint about the clamp getting worn down really quickly. I don't know. Maybe you need to look at another clamp replacing yours, but certainly give me a call or send me an email after we get done with this webinar, and I'd be more than happy to talk with you some more about it. But it's not a common issue, so I don't think I don't think there's anything to straighten out is what I'm trying to say. We probably just need to address your issue. And Dan said, can we update our original A9s to the fancier software? So Dan, the only way to update your original A9 to the new version of Codemaster is to replace that tablet. You would need to put like a Microsoft Surface Go tablet or another full Windows operating system tablet to get to the newer version of the software. You can't update the older tablet to this newer version of software. There's just not enough memory, not enough processing power. It just can't happen. Do we sell the tablet? No, we don't. And that was another reason why the manufacturer decided to go with these tablets. Now it's just a regular Surface Go tablet. You can go wherever you want. You can go to the Microsoft store. You can go wherever and just get a, Microsoft Surface Go tablet. If you need some help finding the right one, I'd be more than happy to help you. But because that is a commercially available tablet that needs no modification, we don't stock or sell them. Let me cut the other side of this key and then we'll test it in our lock. And then I've got, let's see, a couple more things to show you, and then we can get to the question and answer period if there's more question and answers. I know that this webinar was only slated to go an hour, and I don't think I ever restrained myself to 1 hour. So if you guys want to stick with me, I'm happy to continue to show you some demos and take more questions.
Oh, hey, JB.
Yeah, Zena, go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. Just wanted to remind you about something that Anna sent to you and I earlier. The specials that we're going to be having.
Yeah, I've got them.
Cool. Just wanted to remind you to make sure that we, present it to everyone in our wonderful class that we're having right now.
Okay, yeah, no, I see your point, Zena. We should probably show it now in case people haven't budgeted more than an hour. Very good point. As soon as I get this key finished and demonstrate that it works, I'll show the show special here, and then we'll go on to carry the class on a little bit longer. Thank you for that, Zena.
No, thank you.
Let's see. Billy says, can you use the PC software with the new software with the old machine? Yes, yes, you can. Corey says, price or any specials? Yes, Corey, they're coming. Just let me finish this key here and we will get the specials up. I bet you probably got that in there before Zena came on and reminded me about the slides. So. All right, this I think is the last pass. And we will take this out of the machine, brush it off real fast, try it in our test lock. All right. So I've got our test lock over here. All right, and here's our finished product. All right, another good working key we got there. So let me bring the slideshow back up here real quick. All right, everybody just throw your hands up if you're able to see the slideshow again. All right, perfect. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. All right, so here's the specials that we're offering. And again, remember, you can get this offer from any one of the distributors that you prefer, HL Flake, International Key Supply, H.E. Mitchell, or McDonald Dash. So we're doing the A9 Edge on special, $4,200. It's a normal $4,500. So you're getting $300 off, and you get Instacode Live Auto. What we're also doing is we're doing 10% off all of the A9 key machine accessories. So if you want to buy some spare cutters, or you want to get a tibbe jaw, or you want to get a dimple jaw, or the engraving jaw, we can do any of those accessories, the A9 accessories, for 10% off. And then we're also doing some discounts on our starter pack of test keys. So we've got a starter pack of test keys that encompass all of our high security and our standard security offerings. I want to say it's a 10 pack of each keyway. And that's what you're seeing me cut here today is the keyless to go, our house brand, our test keys. So that starter pack of keys for $89.10. And if you guys aren't using test keys, you really should be. I don't know how many tech support calls I get where a customer has a miscut, whether it's the machine's fault or their fault or whatever, but they're cutting their patterns to test on a transponder key or a remote headed key or an insert key, which gets really costly. These test keys are very inexpensive. I recommend that you use one. I mean, even if you're a seasoned guy, things can happen. You know, you're not paying attention. You don't get the key clamped in the vise properly, and you know it flings out and destroys the key. You do that, you know, a couple of times a year, and it's well worth it just to buy the test keys. So those are our specials. Again, $4,200 on the A9 Edge, 10% off of all A9 key machine accessories, and our starter pack of keyless to go test keys, high security and standard security, for $89.10. All right. So Clarence says the A9 special, what tablet does it carry, the old or update? Also, if the old, I have to get new tablet, where do I get the software to download? Clarence, I'm not sure oh, you're asking me the A9 special. So the A9 special does have a proprietary tablet on it, but you can replace it with a Surface Go tablet or any other Windows-based tablet or computer. Now, I keep saying that, so make sure you don't just go buy some Android-based tablet. If you decide to use a new tablet on one of your older A9 machines, it has to be a full Windows operating system. You know, it can't be a stripped down, it can't be one of these dual operating systems. It needs to be a full Windows-based operating system. And so the software, Clarence, the Codemaster software is on our website, internationalkeysupply.com. It's at the bottom. There's a column that says more info, and in that column, more info, there's a download section. Click on the link to downloads, go to downloads, and then you're looking for Codemaster software. Joe says, is it possible to decode tibbe keys? So to make a duplicate of the key? No, Joe, there's no possibility to decode tibbe keys with the machine. Most guys decode them with their eyes. And if you have trouble decoding them with your eyes, Joe, what I'd recommend is you make a kind of an old-fashioned space and depth key set. So you take and cut the keys to all the same depth and all the same spaces, and you'll have however many keys you have and depths, and then you can just visually compare them. They're usually not too hard to decode after you've done a few of them. Let's see. Steven says, I found out last week anything over $2,500 coming to Canada, CRA gets involved. My $3,800 purchase ended up costing me $190 extra. Whew. Sorry to hear that, Stephen. I know that we kind of deal with those customs things back and forth. That's brutal. Let's see here. Justin, you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a few questions. First one is, will we have access to the slideshow that you've created?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I didn't think to make it accessible like that, but I don't see any reason why we can't. I mean, there's only 4 slides or 5, but yeah, sure. If you'd like them, I'm sure we can make it available for you. Okay,
if it's all right, you guys can just share it on the Facebook page or whatever. I don't mind, and I'll take it from there. And then
sure.
Also the engraving, Joe, there, I was wondering if you could fit plastic head shells on that.
Well, you can, but you can't engrave on plastic because the machine has to know when it comes in contact with the metal. And so
I see. I was looking on the Intelligent Keys, or not Intelligent, International Key Supply website. I saw they had an engraver for like wood and other weird materials. I thought that was kind of odd.
Yeah, so that's actually the engraving machine. It works a bit differently than the key machine. So on this key machine, it's going to need to be able to see the physical contact. So it's going to have to be a metal that's conductive, so that when you clamp it in the jaw, it actually grounds to the machine, and that the cutter can actually sense where the material is at. So you wouldn't actually be able to do plastic with this one.
Okay, I understand. Thank you so much. Also, my last question is it possible to temporarily disable the shield on the A9 Edge, or is it the same where it only needs to be lowered when the actual cutter is spinning?
Well, it is possible to temporarily disable the shield on any of these machines. We don't recommend it, but it is possible. But the A9 Edge is the same as the rest of them. If you have one that key is too large, which you probably won't because this A9 Edge is a little bit wider format, but you can do what I described. You can lift the lid slightly, let the jaw index, and then put the lid down. As long as you put it down before the cutter starts spinning, it will not complain at you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you again, JB.
My pleasure. Glenn's asked, what is Instacode per year? Glenn, I don't know, but we can look it up for you. I'm sorry about that. Amir says, could you show the Instacode connection from the app to the machine, how to make it work? Amir, actually, that is the next thing I'm going to show you. Let me see here. We'll do that. Actually, we'll go out of order, Amir, but I'll do that for you next. Billy, I see you. Billy says, I see you don't use the key stopper. I guess you don't need it. Is that safe? Billy, as long as you have auto sensing turned on, you do not need the stopper. I'm going to show you the key copy function here in a little bit. You're going to need the stopper for that. But as a general rule, if you have the auto sensing turned on where it touches the tip of the key, you do not need the stopper. And it's perfectly safe as long as you're using good quality keys that conduct properly. You don't have to use that stopper for sure. Thomas says, I have an A9P. Will the laptop with CodeMax connect via a cable or Bluetooth? Thomas, you'll want to connect it by USB. There is a Bluetooth option, but doesn't seem to work quite right. I think they're working that out. So I would definitely recommend USB connection from a laptop to the machine. Steven says, I pay $40 a month for Instacode program with unlimited updates. And I think, Stephen, you probably have the fill and the progression and everything else. Glenn, the Instacode subscription comes in packages, so you can get just auto, you can get progressioning or fill. So there's different ways you can get it. Glenn says, I just checked the website. There are 4 levels of the plan. Okay, so yeah, he's actually just answering his own question. Okay, so Amir wants to see how we do this with Instacode. So here's what I'll do. Let me knock down the slideshow here on my other monitor here. Let me drag Instacode over here where we can see it. Okay, so this is a live version of Instacode. All right, so for this example, I have a high security GM lock. There's the bidding. There's the test key, the working key. There's the key code on the back of my tag. So what we would do is we would select the manufacturer, Chevrolet, okay? And then in this case, we can just choose Camaro or whatever this came out of. This didn't come out of a Camaro, but I get stuck on Camaro sometimes. You can pick the year if you want to narrow the choices down. You don't have to, but we'll pick the year 2009 to 2015. And we're going to put in our key code Z5930. And we're going to do a search. So it came up with one possible result. And it tells you it's a vehicle key, that's the type. It tells you the series, and by series it means all the key codes in that series, the Instacode card number, how many cuts, and some other information that probably isn't too pertinent. But you can see over here on the right-hand side, you get an idea of some possible key blanks. If you scroll down through here to get to the bottom, you'll probably get to Stratattack, which most people want. And if you see something now, Instacode is starting to add our keyless to go house brand numbers, so that's pretty nice. You also get a kind of a representation of what the key looks like uncut. So now if I go ahead and double click on this, it's going to bring me up to the next window that's actually going to show me the bidding of the code that it decoded. And if you could see both of these, I don't know if you can or not. So there's the bidding for this key. And you see Instacode has now found the correct bidding for this particular application. So now, if I wanted to send this to this machine, I would go to Cut Key. And I already have the Miracle connected. and this is the key code that we're sending to the Miracle Key Machine. So I go ahead and tell it finish, and now it's attempting to communicate with the machine, and this is a bidirectional communication. So if for some reason the machine doesn't accept the information, you get that error message like you did. Now I don't know, I'll have to double check. My cable might have come loose here. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I've got a lot happening here with this machine. Give me 1 second here. Well, I don't know what the situation is. Let's see. Hang on 1 second while we have some technical difficulty. Let me check. All right. So if you were going to set up this machine, someone asked, this is the PC version, so it's going to differ a little bit. But here, let's just do this. Let's remove this, and let's add a machine. Okay. Now I will tell you, this isn't a normal problem where you have this write failure. You got to understand, I have quite a bit going on. I have the tablet powered up. I have the machine connected to another computer with the Code the Codemaster software open, and I have Instacode open. So we're really kind of operating this in an unusual way. So let's see if we can actually get it to spill over to the machine now. You know, I'm sorry, I don't know. I've got a new USB hub too, but for whatever reason, I can't get it to go. If this would actually cooperate and work the way that it should, I'm going to try one other thing here real quick. We're going to go ahead and pull Instacode down, and we're going to restart it just to see if Instacode is the issue, or if perhaps there's something else. Z5930. Chevrolet. Well, I'm sorry. I don't know what the issue is. It was working. I tested beforehand, and I use this feature a lot on my machine in my van, so I really can't explain to you. But if it would have gone as it normally should have, it would have spilled all this information over to the Miracle Key machine here, and then all we would have had to do was select cut. So I'm not exactly sure what the failure is there. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for that. Corey says, I have to go shortly. Great information, and it's nice to have a speaker who really knows the material and actually works in the field. No response, no need to respond. Okay, Corey, thank you for that. Appreciate that. That's a great compliment. I appreciate that. Amir says, will it work on my iPhone app? So you can use Instacode on your iPhone, Amir, but you're not going to be able to communicate with the Miracle Series key machines with your iPhone, only your Android phone at this point. Billy says, does the old A9 have the key finder database option? No, Billy, the old A9 does not have any codes built into it. The only way you can get those codes, Billy, is if you update the tablet on your machine, and then you can get the newest version of the Codemaster that has the codes in it. Let's see. Peter says, reboot the Miracle machine. All right, Peter, let's see if you're right. So what I'm going to do is I am going to shut down the Miracle Key machine real quick here, and we are going to reboot it, see what happens. All right, give us just 1 second here. And that since we did reboot the machine, that probably has caused us to lose connection with the Codemaster software, which is okay. So the other thing I want to show you is, once this machine comes back up, I do want to show you this key copy feature. It's not one that I use all the time, but it does work, especially when you don't know the keyway. And we're going to show you an example here on a Chrysler lock. And I know you can't see that too well till I get Instacode out of the way. But I have a Chrysler lock, just a regular standard security key here, and I'm going to show you that key copy feature here in just a minute. We're going to get everything restarted here, and we're going to see if we can get communication again here. Let me pop this down for a minute. Let me start Instacode again. And let me get that key code. Z5930 Chevrolet. Okay, there we go. So we had a little bit of a hiccup there with the machine. We cured it by restarting the machine, okay? So let me show you what it would have looked like if it would have went without a hitch. So what it would have looked like is this. It would have sent all the information to your Miracle Key machine. It would have told you what clamp to put the key into. It would have told you what stopper position and everything else. So what we're going to do here real quick is I'm going to grab the right key blank, and we're just going to toss it in there and show you that it will cut it. You could have done this with the Codemaster software or with the tablet, but I wanted to show you that Instacode does spill to the tablet. So then if you hit cut, you get the typical warnings that you get. And now you'll see there's the bidding that we had from our key code and our decode. And now the machine is down here and it's starting to cut. All right, so we're going to let that cut, and then we'll test it here in this lock that we have, and then I'm going to show you the key copy function, and then we'll open up the floor if there's anything else. And so Justin, you have asked, can I show the path for connecting to iPhone or Android by Bluetooth? I don't have anything that I could easily set up here for you, but it's just as simple as turn your machine on, go into the Bluetooth settings, and pair it with the machine. Once it's paired with the machine, then you go into Instacode and you tell Instacode what machine you're connecting to. And I mean, that's really about it. It's no different than you know, pairing any other Bluetooth device to your phone. There is there's nothing special to it. Let me go ahead and finish the cutting here. Okay, so we'll take a couple passes at that, and I'll show you that that key can actually work this lock very well. and then I'll show you the duplication, the key copy if you don't know the keyway, because I think that's one other thing that I do want you guys to be able to see and understand is that you can do that if you don't know the keyway, and then we'll take whatever questions are left, and then we will we'll conclude. All right, so there we go. We're finished up. Take it out of here. We're going to clear all the debris off the jaw here. Grab the cutter and the decoder just for a good measure. And then we'll come over here and we will do this real quick like here. Pull up this camera. And so there's our cut key. And here's our test lock. All right, excellent. So we're going to show you this one here real quick. Again, this is a Chrysler lock. We're going to do the copy function. Let me see if I can get my Codemaster software pulled back up so that I could show it to you on this side. You can see the keystrokes a little bit easier this way. All right. Okay, so if we were going to do a key copy, we can go here to key copy. All right. We're going to select the style of key that we're trying to copy. And this one, it's just a standard double-sided key. And what these lines are trying to point out to you is that the keys are uniform or the cuts are uniform on both sides of the key. This would be where the cuts are not uniform on both sides of the key. That way the machine would know that it needs to trace one side or both sides. So we're going to tell it that they're uniform on both sides. And we're going to do a normal resolution, which is what you can usually use. And we're going to pick the jaw here. Now, this is a little bit different. Most of the functions give you a little bit of time. So as soon as you click on this, it's going to start going. So what I want to do, though, is I want to be able to show you how I'm putting that key in there. Hopefully, you'll be able to see it. So in this particular time, I am going to use a stopper so that we make sure we get the key in a known position, okay? I'm going to put the stopper in here. And I'm going to get the key on the stopper, make sure the key is nice and parallel on the jaw. Pull the stopper out of there, very important. Always make sure you take the stopper out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just tell it to start. I'm going to do it kind of behind the scene if I can. So what's going to happen is the tracer is going to come down and just start tracing the key. The entire length of the key, all the way till it gets to the tip of the key. Just actually a real rudimentary pattern, a real trace pattern of the key. No comparing to what the cut should be, no comparing to what the spaces should be, nothing like that. We're just going to get an absolute trace. And as you see, when it gets to the end and it finds it's at the end, the carriage will go ahead and return, and then we'll be ready to cut the key. And so then the Codemaster software is going to tell us, well, that's kind of what the pattern looks like there. And then we're going to load another key, a blank key in here. And again, we want to make sure that we use the same stopper position, because in this particular application, the machine doesn't have any idea what key it's working with. It doesn't even know where to look. So we're going to put this key in here, and we're going to clamp it down nice, and we're going to pull the stopper out, and then we're going to tell it to go ahead and cut. All right, as that cuts, I see there's a couple more questions here. Justin says, how do you clean the machine? Well, Justin, the way that you want to clean the machine is with a brush and with a vacuum. You never want to use compressed air. You don't ever want to blow any of these brass shavings into the machine because they'll get into the circuitry. We've had a few folks who have done that and caused some serious damage to their machines. And so you want to make sure that you don't ever use compressed air. There's actually a sticker on these machines that tell you not to use compressed air. But use a vacuum cleaner, and if you can't really get enough suction, make the nozzle smaller on the vacuum cleaner. What I use here on machines that I service, I went to Lowe's or Home Depot, and they have some attachments for shop vac that will allow the nozzle to get very, very small, and you get into some tight cracks and crevices, and you can really clean those machines out real good. So we're going to take this key out of here. We're going to brush it off. We are going to take it over here, and we are going to try it in our lock, which is sitting here. All right, and so there is the finished product. And as you see, I made a duplicate that works. All right, so there's some more questions here. Kelly says, there are a few high security keys that will give us errors about the key being too thin or wrong position. I have been told to use the top clamp and turn off tip sense to make it work. Well, Kelly, you got some good advice and some bad advice. When the key machine is telling you the key is too thin, you can definitely put it in the top jaw, but you have to have all the sensing turned on. You need the tip and the sides turned on. If you turn off the tip sensing, it will not work. But if you turn on auto sensing for the tip and both sides of the key, it will definitely work. The only thing you have to make sure is that the key is, parallel in the jaw. Make sure it doesn't run uphill or downhill. If it runs uphill or downhill, then the key's not going to be cut properly. There's also a shim that comes with your machine when it's new in the box. You can put the shim underneath the key, which will raise it up slightly, and it will take that same problem and cure that same problem for you. The wrong position is because you don't have the tip sensing on, and the too thin is literally because it's too thin. The machine is seeing that if it cuts that key to the proper depth, it very well could cut into the jaw of the machine, and it doesn't want to do that. So put it on the top jaw where you cut standard security keys. Make sure it's parallel, and make sure you have the auto sensing turned on for the tip and both sides, and it'll cut it perfectly fine every time. Or use the shim, either way. Justin said, how tight do you clamp high security keys or edge keys? Just to feel, Justin, the only time you really have to kind of clamp them down tighter is some keys have a little bit thicker or maybe a little bit slipperier, more slippery coating, like when the nickel plating gets done, some inexpensive keys sometimes, or maybe a manufacturing issue where they get too much nickel plating and you might have to kind of tighten it down a little bit tighter. There's also some auxiliary hold down clamps that go on top of that jaw there that you can use if you have trouble. But typically you don't want to tighten it too tight because you can actually put enough force on a key in the jaw to actually deform the key. So you don't want it too tight, but just tight enough to hold. Justin says, are there any keys that you find are difficult to clamp? So the only ones I ever really have trouble with are H75s. And it just depends on what key blank I use. Some manufacturers' key blanks are harder, and those ones that I have trouble clamping that have maybe a little bit more coating or whatever, I use the auxiliary brackets on the top of the jaw to hold it down. Works pretty good. Justin says, sorry for drilling you with questions. No problem, Justin. I'm super used to it. It's my pleasure. Can you show the process for cutting a Lexus 80,000 code series? I don't have any way to do that for you, Justin. I'm not set up for it. I'm not ready for it, but we could definitely do a video for you. I think it has to do with the question that I was answering a couple questions ago where you're getting the too thin error, but we could definitely go through that in a video for you guys. That'd be no problem whatsoever. I'm just not set up for it today. Okay, so I think, let me double check my note here. I think I've showed you guys everything that I wanted to show you. I think I've hit all the high points that I want to hit. There's a lot more to this machine, obviously. I just showed you the common things that I do on a day-to-day basis with it. Is there any other questions? Anybody have any specific questions that maybe I didn't answer, or maybe I didn't answer well enough? Because sometimes I talk a little too fast, or sometimes I move too quickly. So any questions out there? Raise your hand, or put a question in the question and answer section. Okay, I don't see any questions, so I'm gonna assume that I've hit the mark for everybody that's here, and they've gleaned all that they want to glean from this webinar. And so I really appreciate you guys joining us here today. I mean, I know that we have some uncertain circumstances and uncertain times with all this COVID-19 going on, and I appreciate you guys taking some time out of your day to be here with us today. Really, it's my pleasure to be able to give you guys some instruction and to, you know, just show you these machines and give you some of my personal experience. I hope that it's beneficial to you. I hope that it's valuable to you guys. I look forward to, again, that time when we can meet together in a real classroom at a real trade show, and we can, you know, talk together and look at these products together. But I'm embracing this now, and hopefully we'll continue in the future in some fashion or another. Really, again, it's my pleasure to help you guys. I hope that it was helpful to you. Looks like there's a couple more questions. Billy says, how do you upgrade your old machine? So Billy, I'm assuming you're talking about how do you update to get the newest version of software on an older A9. And I think we covered that, but the only way is to control it with a PC, Billy, or to replace it with a Windows-based tablet. They replace the tablet with a Windows-based tablet and put the new version of software on there. Taryn, you have a question? I see your hand up. Am I saying that name right?
Yes, JB. Yeah, it's Tyran.
Tyran. You know what? I pronounced it. I pronounced it wrong the other day, didn't I?
That's okay. Yeah, no problem at all, man. I appreciate you everything. But my question is, I was noticing when I was looking at you guys' website, you guys also, besides the A9, you guys also came out with an S10. What is the difference?
Well, everything really. So the S10 is a machine that's designed to have 2 jaws and 2 cutters and 2 decoders installed simultaneously. So its big benefit is like a guy that maybe cuts a lot of multi-lock. So with an A9, if you want to cut multi-lock or dimple keys, you've got to put the dimple jaw in, put the dimple cutter in, do all that, do all the calibration. Well, now with the S10, you could keep both of those cutters in, both of those jaws in, all those decoders in all at once, and all you do is slide the carriage side to side, and you don't have to do recalibrations. So that's a big deal there. They upgraded the motors to you know, be more powerful, which made the machines a tiny bit more quiet and made them a little bit faster. So it's the idea of the machines, the design in the future, to have those 2 jaws and sort of build off that platform. So it's just the next generation. The A9 is going to continue to live on for the foreseeable future, as far as I know, because the A9 Edge is fairly new. But that S10 is going to be a new platform. You know, I don't know. I'm hoping that maybe someday it comes out with a plunge cutter as well, so that you could actually do plunge cutting and laser cutting. But that's just the new one.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure, of course. My pleasure.
Mhm.
Let's see. Glenn says, thanks again, JB. Thanks for Peter attending as well. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Glenn. It's my pleasure, like always. Glenn, you're always very attentive and ask a lot of questions. I appreciate that very much. Matt says, when the trade show starts, how does a guy find out about them? Well, Matt, we advertise on our website. We send out emails. You'll see them. And, you know, they'll be all over our website. So just check back there. Peter says, I progress with the plunge cutter. So it looks like Peter is driving down that way. Peter, I see you've got your hand up. Did you have any parting words for us? Anything you wanted to say?
I was just going to say, well done. I actually enjoyed that. It's nice
thank
to
you.
see you put it across that well.
Oh, well, appreciate that. I do use this machine multiple times a day, so I'm pretty familiar with it.
And thanks for everybody joining.
Yes, very much, very much. Now, listen, one thing that I do miss with all these online classes is like there's just not much personal interaction. So before we go, I would encourage anybody who wants to unmute their microphone and you know, have some verbal communication just so that I could hear some voices. If you want to do that, that would be great for me. It'd probably be good for you too. If you don't, that's okay, but I'm gonna leave the meeting open for just another minute here. If anybody talks, great. If not, I say again, thank you guys, and we'll see you the next time.
JB, if you can just tell them about our Facebook page. If they have problems, they can always ask on the Facebook page.
Yeah, definitely. The point that Peter is making is very good. We mentioned it before. I mentioned it in the beginning, but Peter is very active. I'm active. There's a Facebook group for these Miracle Key machines. There is users from all over the world. So you get a wide variety of experience from folks who chime in there. It's very helpful. Anyone else?
Yeah, just thanks for doing these. I pick up a little bit every time I watch one of these videos.
Well, it's my pleasure, Matt. I appreciate you attending. I know you've attended several, and you've been a good attendee, asked a lot of questions, and I really appreciate that.
Yep, thanks.
Sure. Joseph, did you have something? I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and the expertise and giving us for all these things. I really had this machine long time back, the old version. Then I stopped using it. Now I'm planning to use again.
Okay, excellent. Well, if you have any trouble kind of getting it kick-started, let me know. I'd be happy to help you. Like I said, my original A9 machine, it has over 7,000 keys cut on it, and I've done nothing to it. I mean, they're workhorses.
Yeah, I had it. This is like around 5 years ago. Then, then it doesn't work that much. Then I left it over. We are using the different other machine. Now I'm trying to go ahead and take the new version of it and see how that works.
Excellent. Well, great.
Try it and let you know.
I appreciate that, Joseph. Thank you for the encouragement too. It helps me personally. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Somebody is actually asking about the A9S upgrade.
A9S upgrade?
Yes, the special. So they can either just use their own tablet, or I do know you have in stock the bracket.
The bracketry,
they can
yes.
take their special bracket out and put the edge bracket in and put a 10-inch tablet in it.
That's right.
And it worked like the edge.
Absolutely. So if you guys understood what Peter was saying, I'm sure you did. He's pretty easy to understand. But if you have an A9S and you want to update it, we have a bracket on the website that you can put. It's basically the same bracket that's on the edge, and then use the new tablet for sure. All right. Let's see. Peter, did you? No. Let's see. Everybody, looks like everybody's hands are down. All right, guys and gals, appreciate it again. Have a very good day, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.